Hi everyone, thank you for joining today's session. I hope you are safe and well wherever you are. I'm Eital, the head of community at TestProject, and I'm glad to see you are here with us once again. Today joining us two masters, Marat Kardashov, our CEO, and Marat Strelets, one of our co-founder and solution architects of TestProject Agent. Both will answer all your burning questions about TestProject 2.0, but before we start, a few housekeeping. By the end of the event, you will receive to your email the recording of this session. Please feel free to ask questions in the dedicated Q&A section in this Zoom, and we will make sure to address as many of them as possible. And as you know, the stage is open for anyone who wants to ask their question live. So all you need to do is raise your hands and we will open your mics. So Ask Me Anything live session starts now. Mark and Marat, are you ready?
Yes, we are, Mitai. Thank you.
Yes, hi, Mital.
So yeah, let's get started. And just before the questions, for anyone who possibly missed the previous session or we want to have a short recap on what actually we're talking about, I'm going to try and briefly describe what TestProject 2.0 is all about. So I hope that everyone can see my screen. And yeah, right after the recap, we're going to answer any questions you might have regarding TestProject on this recent release. So going over quickly about what we had in the past webinar is that TestProject is basically something that we call a hybrid cloud, which enables your test automation anywhere. We've described some features and we had a deep dive into the details of each and every one of them. Also had a live demo of how the CLI tool works. And then we didn't have enough time for the questions and answers, and hopefully this time we will. So as I said, TestProject is a hybrid cloud where everything is stored centrally in a distant remote facility, such as, for example, the test that you are creating using the recorder. The orchestration is also done through the TestProject cloud, so you can trigger the tests and the jobs that you are creating on the platform. Once the execution takes place, you can review the reports that are available in the TestProject cloud. And of course, you can schedule the executions based on time and other triggering concepts. So this is what we had until so far. And in order to perform all of that, we have the TestProject agent that is the component that is running locally. And it takes care about everything that is related to the setup. And of course, the heavy lifting required in order to configure the different servers, such as the Selenium and the Appium servers. It's one-click installation that performs all the setup needed in order to perform tests, including starting the servers, including observing the environment, looking for the devices that are connected to your computer, or the emulators or the simulators in case of iOS. It provisions all the drivers so that you can actually run the different browsers or different platforms using these drivers. And it takes care about everything that is related to the execution itself locally inside of your network, so you can access local resources, such as, for example, the internal websites or the internal applications that are requiring usually a VPN to get connected. Everything runs inside of the network you are currently connected to, so you don't have to set up any additional components. And whenever you require to execute these tests on remote targets, such as, for example, the device farms that Browser Stack or South Labs provide, you can integrate these inside of the TestProject settings by providing the credentials to these platforms. And by this, you are capable of doing the automation on these cloud providers, also using the TestProject local agent or even the TestProject virtual agents that we provide, so that you won't have to set up any additional agents inside of your environment. And so we close the loop here by allowing you to create the tests using the cloud, executing them locally, or executing them on the cloud providers. So this is what the hybrid cloud is about. When we have released the version 2.0, what we have added, we created something that we call the offline mode that enables you to perform the same things, but this time, instead of using the cloud for saving the tests that you are creating, we allow to create local textual files in a YAML format for the mobile or the web test that you can store either on your hard drive, your disk, in your network, or any kind of a source control. Being textual files, you can even create a versioning control for your test so that every time you're performing any kind of a change, you can go back and revert to the previous version whenever it is required. And when you are creating this test, you're basically creating something that it looks like a textual file, but in general, you can either have the test itself, or you can have the test with an additional components, such as, for example, definitions of what are the targets that you're going to execute these tests on. So let's say that you are going to execute this on the desktop browsers. You can actually choose inside of the TestProject UI what would be the browsers that you are going to execute this test on by selecting checkboxes and generating a settings file that will be included along with a test file inside of the same package. And then you just download it as a zip file, and you can execute the whole bundle using the CLI tool that we are going to describe and see in a moment. So you can either have a single test in a single file, or you can have a package with all the definitions of the target executions. You can also have there things like, for example, the test parameters to create either to override the existing values or to create a data-driven execution using the parameters that you are providing from an external source or just from a CSV file included inside of this test package. And of course, once the execution takes place, in case of these local bundles or local YAML files, you can see a local report in a form of an HTML file right on your computer. So you don't have to upload this into the cloud. You don't have to share your information with TestProject. These reports are created locally, and there is no footprint on the cloud at all. This is also something that we have shown in the previous session, but I can show you, of course, this now as well. So in order to make it all work, to allow this offline mode on TestProject 2.0, what we have created is the CLI, which is the command line interface. And using the CLI, being a universal tool, is something that allows you to create custom flows, including custom continuous integration or continuous delivery pipelines using different tools such as Jenkins, CircleCI, TeamCity, and others. But the most important part here is that the test that you are creating in a form of textual files can be stored in source control, can be checked out from this source control. Then it creates a repository of your tests that are going to be executed. The orchestration is now done not in the TestProject cloud, but is done by you. And this is why you can actually customize it according to your pure needs. You don't have to expose it in any kind of way to a remote location. And once the execution takes place, then an HTML report is generated also locally, so that you can use it in order to review the execution results or send it and share it with your team members or management. And this is what we call the TestProject 2.0 offline mode, when everything is executed on premises and also is stored on premises and nothing is shared with the cloud. So once the test package is available offline on your computer, you can also execute it using the TestProject agent without the need to expose anything to any remote resource, even when you don't have a connection at all. And here, previously, we have seen a quick demonstration of how the CLI tool works. And this time, I believe that, Mark, you wanted to do something on your end and show how these kind of things are functioning. Are you ready?
Yeah, hi. Thank you, Marat. Yeah, I think that we're also starting getting questions here. And I think we can combine the live presentation with starting answering the questions, because this is what it's all about today. And so let me just share my screen.
Okay, so let me share mine.
Okay, thank you. Second. Okay. So now you should be able to see my screen. Can you see it?
Yeah, I actually can see it.
Cool. So let's create really quickly a first test, and then and then run it from the cloud and from the hybrid cloud, and then from CLI, and then start addressing questions. There is a question. The first question was asked by Tufael about CI/CD, and I think we can start from this example of how trigger CI/CD and what are the main ways to tackle CI/CD within TestProject. But first, let's create a really quickly test. I'm gonna create some really quick test on Airbnb to book a room. It's gonna be a web test. And here we can already see one of the additions that we added before the V2, you were able to save your tests directly to the TestProject cloud. And now you have the option to save this test as a local file. But for this demo, we're gonna first save it on the cloud. Okay, so now I'm gonna really quickly record a new test on a real world site. So this is the TestProject recorder. I guess that most of you are already familiar with this powerful tool. And let's quickly book a room somewhere between those dates. Let's add some guests. Let's select this button and press on click. Cool. So we have this really quick test, really simple test that we created quickly. Now we will change the execution speed to fast, just to execute it really quickly. Okay, so the test is working and selecting some destinations based on New York location. And now I'm going to close this recording session. And this is the test artifact that was created for me in TestProject Cloud. Now I'm gonna, I can execute. Okay, so I'm starting to answering questions. And so to fail, this is one for you. So basically in TestProject, you have two modes to integrate TestProject within your CI/CD pipeline. Two main modes. The first one by utilizing the TestProject hybrid cloud. And the second one by utilizing the CLI tool that Marat just presented. And I'm going to show you both ways. So you can always also, if you will go to the main page of TestProject and you will go to learn more here, and you have some explanations about the CI/CD orchestrations as well, and the main difference between those two. And you have some documentation as well that you can search through and find the differences. But the main difference to summarize is, first, you can use TestProject as your main orchestrator. It will save you time and efforts while you're building your pipelines. So to create a job or a pipeline in TestProject, it's really simple. Just create a new job. Let's call it, I don't know, regression suit, for example. Then you can specify the agents that are a part of your account. Agents are those components that Marat mentioned that are running locally, and basically includes all the web drivers that needed and all the Appium server and the configuration. So basically the agent is running locally. It can run on premise, it can run on remote public cloud, it can run anywhere in your organization. But as long as it will be registered with your account, you will see all the agents here. It can be a Docker agent as well. In this case, I'm going to choose my agent. And the agent automatically detects all the browsers that installed on that specific target. So in this case, I have all those browsers installed on my agent. So I'm going to choose Chrome and I'm going to choose Firefox, for instance. But I can specify inside job more than one browsers as well. And then once I create this new job, I can simply drag and drop as many tests that I want to this job. And I can schedule it to run on specific occasions, on a specific time, on specific dates. It can be a recurrent job. So those are the tools the test project already provide out of the box to orchestrate your automation. And now to connect it with your CI/CD. So the easiest way will be just run it from here. So just by hitting play button, it will execute this job on the specified agent. And now we're going to see the job starting running on my local agent, because this is the agent that is currently this job defined on. So it's going to run this test on Chrome, and then run this test on Firefox, and then reduce maybe. Yeah, let's wait until it complete. Okay, so in the meanwhile, I just want to show how to embed this test. Let's switch it back to normal. And I just want to show how embedded is part of the CI/CD flow. Tufail asked here about Circle CI, or maybe Azure DevOps and others, right?
Mike, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes, Mike. So Azure DevOps, I go through your documentation. I don't see any, a clear documentation is there. I can't find anything for like a API or any add-ons for Azure DevOps.
Mm-hmm. So I can really quickly show you how it's done. So stay with me. So basically the first, while you're utilizing TestProject hybrid cloud, it's very simple. All you need to do, now you saw that we created this job?
Right.
Cool. So now all you need to do is copy this job ID.
Okay.
Okay, now I'm copying it. Let me paste it somewhere. And locate the project ID. Here's the project ID. I'm copying the project ID. Okay. It's another ID. And once I have the project ID and the job ID, now I can go to integrations and I can go to the APIs. So the TestProject APIs basically allows you to do any of your desired CI/CD actions on TestProject remotely. So I'm going to use, I'm going to create a new API key. Let's call it demo. Let's call it v2 demo. Okay. I'm going to give it unrestricted. No, you know what? I'm going to give it only the permissions to the required project, but I can also override it with unrestricted permissions. So we are working inside of this project.
Okay.
Now I'm going to copy the key of this API that I just created, and I'm going to hit API documentation. So once I'm on the API documentation, I'm going to authenticate myself with Swagger, and then by using this button, and then I'm going to locate the run job endpoint. So once this endpoint is located, basically this endpoint allows you to trigger any job or any test, and you have another endpoint for a test as well, from any CI tool, from Azure DevOps, from any CI, from Circle CI, and it's really simple. So I'm going to press here, try it out. And all I need to do now is just supply my project ID and job ID, because I already authenticated with my API key. So this is my job ID, and this is my project ID. Just copy it in the right place. Here, I have some parameters that I can override this job. For instance, if you recall, I created this job to run with Chrome and Safari. But here I can override those parameters in live. As well, if I have other parameters, like if it's a data-driven job with data-driven tests, I can override those parameters when I executing the job. In my case, I don't want to override anything. I just want to trigger this job as is. And once I'm gonna hit execute, it will basically create for me this curl command. And this curl command now can be pasted anywhere. Now you see it's already started and triggered the automation. But theoretically now I can paste this curl command in any third-party CI/CD tool. In Circle CI, it basically goes for YAML. They have some YAML file there, configuration. And that's it. And this is the beauty of the hybrid cloud. So if, for instance, I will go now to my CMD, right? And I will use this curl command and just hit enter. From any place around the globe, as long as I have internet connection, it will trigger this test automation for me. Okay, you see now it's starting to run.
Yes, but my question is how I can connect this command to Azure DevOps.
So in Azure DevOps, you just have Azure DevOps pipelines, something that's called Azure DevOps pipelines, right?
Okay.
And there, as part of your pipeline, you can just place this command inside of your Azure DevOps. And wherever you will place this command, it will just trigger this automation on any agent that you specified. And by the way, we also have a blog. So if you will go to this blog, we have two step-by-step articles about how to make it done. So if you will type here Azure DevOps, I think there was reading by Kardik, you see? This is for the Open SDK, and this is for the recorded tests.
Yeah, I actually went through all of these videos, and I also created one source for this, but it is updating the previous, last result. It's not showing for current result.
What do you mean last result not showing?
Like I trigger one test now, so it is showing the result on previous result, not current result.
I'm not sure I'm following. So it triggers the tests.
Yeah, when I follow this Kartik videos and go through all of this step by step and complete a suites. And after that, like I trigger a test on like 11 o'clock. And it shows the result. Previous one, like a 10 o'clock result. It's not showing the current result.
Inside of your Azure DevOps or in TestProject?
Right, inside the Azure DevOps.
Okay, so I guess it's something related to something that need to be solved on the Azure DevOps side. And maybe we can, I don't know, schedule, some offline session with one of our CS guys to help you on that. But this is basically how it's done. So basically all you need to do is, yeah, sorry, Matt, go ahead.
I just wanted to interrupt for a second. Like if the test or the job gets triggered and gets executed, you can actually see it. And what you're talking about is seeing the results. So there is another API for seeing the results. I'm not sure where exactly you're referring to seeing the result of the previous execution. And in some cases, it might take a bit of a time for the result to get populated because it's being processed and then it's being published. So it will have a different ID. So the API also has endpoints for seeing the different execution results, and the execution ID that maybe you have noticed you are seeing in the command prompt is actually the ID that you should be using in order to retrieve these results. So as Mark said, perhaps there is some sort of a gap here that maybe you can solve with our customer success engineers for how to retrieve these results correctly.
Yeah, I'm just looking for, maybe you should, Marat is 100% right here. Sometimes it takes time to the agent to report the reports back to TestProject Cloud, and maybe you should wait like for, I don't know, 30 seconds or something before you are getting the latest report. So you see, you have this, you can use jobs latest or execution ID. So you can use one of those endpoints to get the latest reports, but perhaps you should like wait for 10 or 20 seconds and maybe it will solve the report that you're seeing there.
Okay, Mike.
Okay, but still, if you have an issue, just please email to our support mail and we will take it separately with one of the CS engineers.
Sure, thank you.
But this is basically how it's done, like in a very simple way. Okay. There is a question by David Jones here. When would I be able to start testing some products? I'm not sure what does it means. You can already start testing products. It's test project. Key requirements, 100% local test case development, execution, defect management, and CI/CD integration. So there's a question by Rodrigo here. Key requirements, 100 local test case development. So can you be a little bit more specific about your question? I'm not sure that I'm following. And 3, okay, let's see if someone.
Mark, there's also a question from Sri. She raised her hand. So Sri, can you hear us?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, hi Sri.
Hi, Mark. So the question is like the offline recording. It still needs to connect to the TestProject cloud, correct? I mean, to record.
Right.
I mean, so do you have something in the pipeline or an ETA when? I mean, do you even planning to have a full on-premise where we do not have to connect to the TestProject cloud?
You mean for recording purposes as well?
Exactly. So for recording and execution purposes, like right now, you can only execute offline, but you cannot record offline.
Right. You can just like, if you want to, you can just save this file and save it as a YAML file. I guess you already know that.
Exactly.
And then you can edit it. It's not the most convenient way, but by the way, once you download this test locally, you can update all the CSS selectors and XPath, and you can like maintain this test from this point with your Notepad or Visual Studio or whatever. Right. But yes, your question is if there is a plans to allow this recorder fully offline.
Right.
So I will start from the end. Currently, there is no plans to, this is the online recorder.
Right.
And the reason that he currently, by the way, is running inside of your browser, meaning that this recorder is cached in your browser. And the only reason why it should be connected to the internet is for the first time to be cached. And then you are able to do your things here. So for now, we don't have plans to allow this recorder as completely offline. From the main reason that this recorder, once you create your actions, from time to time, for instance, you are using add-ons. So for instance, like you can, I don't know, use some add-on here. For instance, take element screenshot. And this add-on, and this is one of the strengths of TestProject, is the community add-ons. So for instance, and most of the like 99% of TestProject users are utilizing those add-ons in order to make their automation quicker, and they don't want to reinvent the wheel, and they're using those add-ons. So if you will work completely offline, you won't be able to utilize those add-ons because they're coming from TestProject library. And while you're recording, we want to provide this freedom and this power of extending your tests, not only with basic click type commands, but with all of the wealth of the add-ons, PDF actions and table add-ons, and this number of add-ons growing as we speak. There are already more than 3,000 automation actions that are there. So the only way to consume them is that the recorder will be online recorder. But once you use this add-on, like in this example, I use the take screenshot. From that moment, I can take and save this as a package. And once I'm saving this as a package, and let me just emphasize about the difference between saving a test as a YAML or as a package. It will basically download all of the tests, but it also will bundle it and download the add-ons. And now you are able to execute this test completely offline, even if you use like 10 different add-ons. From that moment, you don't need the internet. You can just take this test and execute it completely offline with even unregistered agent. So now if I will unregister my agent, and it will be complete offline agent, I will be able to use this add-on, and I will show you. But if I hadn't this connection to the internet in the first place, I couldn't download and use this add-on. And this is the main reason why not.
Right. So the add-ons, when we are recording, we are utilizing the add-ons. However, when we are executing it on the offline mode, still the add-ons tend to kind of work, right? I mean, the add-ons, what I recorded and saved in an YAML file, when I execute, it's still offline. I mean, I can execute offline and the add-ons work.
Right.
Right. So
because you're downloading the zip file, because it's once you download your test as a test package, it will come not only with a YAML file, but it will be bundled with the add-ons. Exactly.
So are you saying that if I download as an YAML file, is it not downloading the add-ons used in the recorder?
Yes, correct. So it will download it, but as long as your agent is registered. But the environment that you describe is that it's a complete offline environment, right?
Right.
So if it's a complete offline environment, so let me see. Let's just copy that. So there is no way to run this use those add-ons, right? See, now it will, even I unregistered my agent, you see? My agent was completely, it's like an offline agent. It's not connected to the internet, it's just running in the background, and it will be able to use this take screenshot add-on as well. But this is the main reason why.
Right. So, I mean, what I'm assuming, thanks for clearing it out. So what I was kind of assuming is like, as we are able to download the package, the package in the sense like the test case, I thought like, we can probably download the add-ons as well and decide to upgrade whenever we can, like on-premise, like say, for example, we have version 2, we are using 100 add-ons. So we can download complete add-on package with the agent and whatever needed to execute on-premise. And down the lane, maybe after 6 months or after a year, when we are comfortable to upgrade, because during that time, TestProject will have number of versions released. And once we are comfortable, then we can, when we are upgrading, we are not upgrading to the latest just the package, but also the latest add-ons, which because the add-ons also gets upgraded, which goes in hand, right? I mean, the add-on upgrades. Yeah. So that's what my thought process was like when you mentioned on-premise, that the whole package we should be able to download and use it, and on an ad hoc basis we can communicate with TestProject and then download the updated package with add-ons and the agent and everything. So
yeah, I think it's already achievable. Like if you will put aside the online recorder, which is the only part that you need internet for, just to like edit your tests and create your tests efficiently, you can already download the test packages, and they will already download all the required add-ons, and you can keep them on premise and you can run them on premise. And when you feel comfortable, you can sync and go to your account, and you can like update the latest add-on version and download the latest agent, and then just save the test again with as a package, and it will create another version of this test package now with the latest version of add-ons. By the way, if your agent is registered, you don't need it. All you need to download is just the file, because once the agent is registered, it will automatically download the necessary add-ons according to their latest version in your account. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So this is the version. It's what I showed just now. It's a completely offline mode. You see, if you go to the agents, my agent is disconnected. It's gone. Okay. Okay, Sri. Thank you for that. I hope I answered your question partially, but we need to go forward with others as well.
Yeah. So
thank you,
just to add one last thing. I mean, the reason is like the recorder, I know you can download, but at the same time, to edit a test case manually in your notepad, or because you probably want to add more steps to the test case, right? These things are not possible, right? I mean, you cannot,
Why not?
Unless and until you again go back to the cloud. Unless and until you again upload your test to the cloud.
But once you upload it, it's okay. Just to emphasize on something, once you do that, you're not uploading anything to the cloud. You're just opening your test. So if now I will choose to open this test, okay. Oh, my agent is unregistered. One second. One second. Let me quickly register my agent. So you don't uploading back your script to the cloud. You're just loading it to your browser, to your local browser. And you even can't save it in the cloud. So if you will do that and open your test, you don't have any option currently to store it in your cloud. The only option that you have is save it back locally to your disk.
Okay. Got it.
So you only use your browser basically. You see, you can save it. The only place that you can save it, so you can add some step manually, and once you want to save it, it immediately saves it to your disk. It doesn't save it to your cloud.
Got it. All right, thanks, Mark.
Mm-hmm. Okay, there's a question by Randy here. Just really quickly to address that. Can an offline script can be re-imported back as online script? So Randy 10 is asking here, can an offline script can be re-imported? So at the moment it can be re-imported just for the editing purposes, but within a week or so from now, we will also add a flow to completely import it back to the cloud. So it will be possible not only to edit it, but completely import this within a week from now, Randy.
Mark, there's another question from Rodrigo Live. Rodrigo, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Great. Yeah, just following up on the question from the previous gentleman regarding the recorder. Would also a possibility be, the issue is, again, when you go to app.testproject.io, that requires an internet interaction, right? And that's the thing that we are not allowed to do. Would maybe doing this through a VPN be possible? Some secure way so that we could go into the recorder and do what is required to create a test case and get it out into local mode?
Yes. So you can, there are some organizations who already use this kind of work. So as I just showed, once you're do this action of open file, nothing is open, nothing is loaded to the cloud. It just opened within your context of your browser here. So as long as you will have maybe some standalone, I don't know, computer or desktop that has access to the internet that it can use for editing purposes, and then once you're done, you can just immediately, you can do here whatever you want and just immediately save it to the cloud, right? So you can, I don't know, press here and change something, etc. And then you can just immediately save it back locally. So this is how it can be solved.
Okay, that's possible. We're going to have another one-on-one on this later. But yes, okay, that would be the idea. See, the way we work is we can evaluate tools and in a normal PC with no restrictions. And once it's approved, then we have a request to have the application, that would be test project, transferred to a secure environment that is not connected to the internet. So once we're there, if there is a VPN or something, so it's just a step of getting that initial test case moved, then we can work offline after that. So it sounds like there is a possibility of doing this through a VPN.
Yes, yeah. So you can do it through a VPN, but it will require from your side, for this purpose, for this specific station that need to also maintain the tests, not only run them. Running the tests offline, you can do it completely offline. I just showed how it can be done, right? But
yes,
if you want to edit the test, this is not the most convenient way currently to edit it, I guess. So yes, you need to have some station that connected to the internet only for creation purposes. And by the way, when you create a new test, I didn't show it, but let's show it really quickly. You can, from the first place, you can also, instead of choosing cloud, you can choosing this file. And then even from the first place, nothing will be saved to the cloud. Okay, so it will always save it locally, and then you only editing it in your browser, and then save it back to your disk.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, thank you, Rodrigo.
We have another question actually live. Siva Balwi, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Hi.
Hi. I wanted only to know about running the web automation on a mobile app. Can that be possible?
Yeah, let me just really quickly to show you. Can you still see my screen?
Yes, I can see your screen.
Okay, so now I just I'm running it as a local file. So let me really quickly create a new test. And I just choose, instead of choosing mobile, I'm choosing web, because with TestProject, you can also record a native test. Let's call it example. And then let's choose very quickly our example website, record. And let me to turn on the pixel. that I have here. So now I just really quickly record the test. Let's create a login session here, and then validate that here we see Dave. Okay, so now we have like some quick test that we created, a web test, right? And now we'll close this web test. This is the this is the web test that I created. Now I connected my Pixel phone to this desktop, and since my agent is running locally, the agent is the TestProject agent is a local component that's running on my my desktop. It's will recognize and identify my mobile phone. Let's give it a second. I just turned it on. So this is the mirroring of my real device. And now all I need to do is just hit on play. And instead of desktop, choosing mobile, and it will give me the default browser on this mobile. So on iOS, it will be Safari, and on Android, it will be Chrome. So basically, any test that was created on web now can be executed on mobile. If you need to change something, like sometime you have different elements that changing from mobile to web, we do recommend record these tests in a mobile web view as well. But let's give it a second, and it will also run. Okay. So now the exact same test that I created for web was executed on my mobile web. And if I will go to report, I will see it in my reports. Okay. Okay, I hope it was, yeah. We can't hear you, Siba, but I hope that this is answering your question.
Yes, it does. You said if the web app has different elements compared to the, like, if I open it in my mobile phone, it is designed differently than the one on the web app. I can still record it on the phone, right?
You can record it directly on the phone. It's less recommended. What I do recommend in such case is still to create a web test. Okay, you can record it directly as a native test, but it's less recommended. So in such case, what I do recommend is just
to select mobile when
just click on record and then like hit of F12 and then select mobile and just record from here. So you will have all of the recorder features, and by doing that, you can you can just interact with your applications, and while you're doing here, the recorder here will record all of your action as well.
Yeah, that does answer my question. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
We have another question live from Piyush. Piyush, can you hear us?
Yes, how are you, everyone? Good evening.
Hi, Piyush.
Hi, do you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks, Matt. I have one question was beginning, like when you said that you can save the file locally when you're creating or recording instead of saving on the cloud, you can save in the locally. The reason I have a question, like if you saving the file locally, it goes to the project hierarchy or is saving in the particular location, because if we are running as a project, it should automatically save that file in under particular hierarchies in local repository? That was my first question. The second question, you just showed us like we can use the mobile format into the web. The question is the operating system is concerned, like is just Android format is showing on the web, because we are using Chrome, definitely is Android. But how about the iOS application? If you is run the similar way or work similar way if we run that test case on iOS?
Yeah, so let's start from the end. If you will run that web application on mobile, it works exactly identical on iOS or emulator, simulator, Android. It treats these tests as a web test that's running on mobile. So it's cross-platform. Okay. Regarding your first question about saving the file, so once you're saving your file locally, it's up to you basically like when you want to save it. So if you're using TestProject Hybrid Cloud, we provide this hierarchy of folders and tests and this convenient of management, everything, etc., etc. But once you save this test locally, like you're on your own, you should put this test in the right place in the GitHub repository under specific folder structure. It's up to you how to manage it. We don't
force you for the structure, because basically locally you might have a completely different structure than you have on TestProject. Maybe this is the reason basically why are you doing this, because you might have longer hierarchy or even shorter hierarchy, and then you can separate it in different folders based on your source control needs.
Right, thank you, because I just, the concern was like, make sure that the saves anywhere, but run has a job, then make sure it's run fine, not looking for any other, the components which might be related with the test or, reusable test cases, which is available in the project.
So
go
ahead, Matt. Sorry.
One of us has to speak. Anyway, I was just saying that when you have auxiliary tests, such as, for example, recovery tests or nested tests and so on, etc., whenever you are exporting it, it's all included in the same YAML file or the same zip file. So it's not like you have an external dependency sitting somewhere else next to the file or something like that. It's all part of the export you've created. So you shouldn't have any kind of a problem with dependencies. They are completely independent. So you can save it. That's basically the reason why you can change the hierarchy, and it will not affect the execution in any kind of way.
That's it. Thanks. That's what I want to answer. But one more question. Now we are saying that we can download this file in locally. Now, how we can do this entire the jobs or entire project to be downloaded in XML? Is it possible, or just we have to do one by one file or one by one test?
So currently you only have the possibility to download them one by one, not a job, but only a test. And as Marat mentioned, if you have a nested test, like tests that have some child test inside of it, it will download it as a single file. But in the future, we're planning to add some capabilities that you will be able to like mark more than one, and as today you can drag more than one, you will be able to save more than one locally, but it will be added in the future.
Okay, thank you very much, everyone. Thanks.
Thank you.
Another question we have from William. Can you hear us?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, William.
Hey. Thanks so much for that recorder tip for using developer tools to record in mobile format. That's excellent tip. What do you recommend for recording tests on older versions of browser? For example, I needed to verify that our application was blocking our app from running on an older version of IE. But because I didn't have that installed on my device, the only thing I could see maybe is using Sauce Labs or Browser Stack or an emulator. Do you have any other recommendations for testing? Because to get that verification of a text, if you don't have it when you're running a test, you can't actually create that verification checkpoint. So what do you recommend for recording tests on older versions where you need to have that insertion of a verification of text or some type of picture on there?
Yeah, so actually, Marat, do you want to address that?
Yeah, for sure. Like, I believe that add-ons is the right answer for your needs. You can basically, like, the recorder is made for simplifying things such as, standard flows. But whenever the needs grow and more complex, then perhaps writing a couple of lines of code is necessary. So add-ons is the answer here. You can do whatever you want in an add-on, such as, for example, validating things that you can't actually see in a different browser. As you're describing, it only appears in an outdated version of Internet Explorer and no longer appears in a modern browser. So this would be the way to go. Creating a few lines of code, then uploading this as an add-on. And it might be that we already have something like this. You just have to search the add-ons library, and perhaps you will be able to find actions such as, for example, the click if visible or any kind of other validations and interacting with the elements that you are not able to record in the Chrome browser.
Excellent.
All right, maybe
Okay,
I
I'll take a look.
I want to add to that,
Go ahead.
William. If you know how to, what is the signature of your element by chance, like how it should be in the older browser, right? So what you can do, you can go to the elements, you can go to the application that you're testing, for instance, there. Then you create a new element and said, okay, let's call it invalid element. Okay, sorry. Yeah. And then you said, okay, I know that the signature of this invalid element should be, I don't know, something like that, for instance. I don't know.
Oh, I see where you're going.
Okay. So now, and this is like a web element. So let's create some signature. Okay, but it's not there. So I can like save this element, and I also can specify what will be the type for this element. It can be like generic element, etc., etc. Okay. And so in this case, let's call it, I don't know, some generic, I don't know, it's not, I don't know, something, for instance.
You've got lots of element types in your account for sure.
Yeah. So I created some invalid element, but I can create it from the recorder as well. I don't need even to go here. And then I can just go and add step manually without recording it. I said, okay, I want to, let's choose an element. For instance, I can like if visible, can just said, okay, yeah, I can set just click if visible, for instance, and then I said invalid. Maybe click invisible, it's not a good idea, but just any other action. And I just can add this, and that's it.
Yeah, what Mark basically describes here is mapping the elements manually and not using the recorder, even as you can see an offline recorder, and then just interacting with them using the various sections you've got. So it's like kind of in the middle between the recording mode and the coding and add-on. So it might also answer your needs.
Yes, excellent. Thank you, guys. I appreciate that. It's very helpful.
Thank you.
Thank you. Another question from Manjula. Can you hear us?
Hi. Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate you all doing this. This is simply amazing. Real quick, I know we are running short of time. Regarding the Active Directory authentication, like I understand we have to record it in the cloud and we cannot record it offline. Okay, fine. And I have a database validation that I need to run, which I can probably do as an add-on. But then my question is, that one also has to be done when we are online, right? That's not something we can do offline. And in our office, we have a restriction that we cannot allow any unregistered ports to access our database. So since it involves Active Directory authentication. So how do we go about this? Thank you.
The most important part here, Manjula, is that as you mentioned, the database is actually located inside of your network, right? So the agent running inside of your network is actually not in the cloud. and thus he can communicate with your database using the standard ports you're using for any kind of another communication you're using even today. And all you have to provide is just to provide a means of authentication. So Mark is here currently showing you an add-on that interacts with a Microsoft SQL database using provided IP address and provided port, which can be the port that you are usually using. You don't have to expose any ports externally. And by providing all of this information, the agent that is running locally on the computer where the execution takes place inside of your network will be able to communicate with your database without the need to expose anything to the cloud.
Awesome. 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 Can you please point us some material documentation on this? That will be really helpful. I couldn't find
about the SQL. What kind of database you have? Like Microsoft SQL or
Microsoft SQL, yep.
So just all you need to do is just like while you're recording, just add a step manually, and then you're typing SQL, and you have here MS SQL. And no worries, even if you are recording online, as Marat mentioned, your agent is running locally, and the component that executes this query is your agent. So as long as it's running on your local network, it will be able to interact with your database, and that's it.
Okay, cool. That's very helpful.
I will send the link to the add-ons library, and particularly this add-on in the chat, so you can go ahead and read about its fields and how it needs to be used.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Really, really appreciate it. I would like to explore this. Thank you.
Thank you. Mital, I think that we can stay like for another 10 minutes because there are more questions here, so we can.
Yeah, if you can address like.
Well.
Yeah, definitely. If you can address just like 2 questions from the Q&A section, that will be fantastic, and that will be the end, I guess so.
Okay, so can like any specific questions? Let's see what we have here. So we see one question by Shyam here. What are limitations for using TestProject as open source? So TestProject is a community product. It's not an open source. There are some parts of TestProject which are open source, which are mainly the open SDKs that we have, but there are no any limitation of using TestProject. So you can use TestProject as long as you want. If you want to read our standard and the user license agreement, that can be found here under terms of service. So basically, this is the entire thing that like our entire terms of service. It's really short, nothing special. And beside that, you can use TestProject as long as you want, and yes. The question by Pitar, do we have plans for Okta integration for login management? I think, Pitar, that you referred for the single sign-on. And if you're referring for the single sign-on, yes, we have plans for integrating Okta and other services at Q3 and Q4 this year. So stay tuned. Let's see what we have. Is there an add-on already in TestProject that helps convert a JSON file into HTML format? Interesting. An add-on, Shweta is asking here, there is an add-on already in TestProject that helps to convert JSON file to HTML format? Let's look for that. Convert XML to JSON. No. There's some add-on. I don't think that we have such add-on. But you know what? If you have any specific requirements for such, please feel free to email us to support@testproject.io or just write to us here and just describe what kind of add-on you want. And if others can benefit from this add-on as well, we tend to develop such add-ons. So feel free to contact us. Rene asking here, hi Rene, in the future there will be a mobile emulation browser that will test against without having to plug in a device. So there is a question by Rene Hernandez here. If in the near future will be there a mobile emulation browser that will test against without having a plug-in device. You can already, Rene, use Android Studio for simulators or Xcode for emulators. And by doing that, you don't need to, it's just a software. You don't need to possess any physical devices. You can record on emulators or simulators. How I can use TestProject to another third-party application by Amer. I'm not sure that I fully understand this question, Amer, but generally speaking, TestProject has those APIs, and you have this API documentation. So basically, everything that can be done through UI can be executed from those APIs. So feel free to explore that, and you can do amazing stuff here. Sui asking here, we're planning to use TestProject extensively and we need more space, 1 terabyte. Any paid plans we can need space, any paid plans? No, Sui, we don't have any paid plans at the moment. So once you reach that point that you need more space, just feel free to send us an email to the TestProject support and you will, your account will be extended accordingly. You said we can have cloud agents. Okay, last question. You said we can have by SIBA. You said that we can have cloud agent that does not require a local computer, like run tests from a phone. Okay, so just to emphasize on TestProject architecture, SIBA. TestProject built from two main components. The first component is the TestProject Cloud. What it does, it only helps you to orchestrate and execute your tests on remote agents. So it's mainly meant for saving the tests, storing the reports, and collaborating with your teammates, and helping you to orchestrate your tests and running them everywhere where your agents are installed. So you can install an agent anywhere around the world. You can install it on a remote cloud. You can install it on premise. You can install it as a Docker agent inside a virtual machine, whenever you want. And as long as this agent is registered with your account, from that moment, you will be able just trigger the test and choose on which agent you want to trigger it. It's that simple. So this is the power of TestProject. So you have those agents, and then you have one place when you orchestrate everything. But if you want to utilize third-party device farms, such as Browser Stack or Source Labs, you can create an account in one of those. It costs, I don't know, it's not very expensive. So you can create an account in one of those. You can simply integrate by supplying your key. It's that simple. And from that moment, TestProject will create virtual agents for you in TestProject Cloud that will allow you not only run your tests on your agent, but also run them remotely on one of those device farms. So by doing that, you don't even need to install the agents. It's a matter of convenience and a matter of need. It's not that complicated installing an agent, but you can utilize those device farm providers as well. I hope this answers your question. Mital, I think we're done here.
Yes, that's amazing. Thank you so much. You really did a fantastic job. It was a pleasure hearing you guys. Thank you, Mark and Marat, for the session, for your time today, answering all of these fantastic questions. And thank you, friends, for sharing your great questions with us. For more questions, don't hesitate to reach out to us via our support channels. We put all the links in the chat. And we will also release very soon an article with all the answers to your questions. So stay tuned. Once again, thank you, Mark and Marat. And that's it for today. Take care, everyone. And we'll see you
Thanks,
at the next one.